A world drowning in plastic. Governments quietly controlling what you watch. Robots replacing the very workers who train them. The Simpsons warned us that 2026 will change everything. From season 27, we have an episode called The Marge-ian Chronicles. The setup is classic Simpsons. It starts with something really simple and then spirals into something you were never expecting. So Homer steals eggs from Ned Flanders, and it ends up with the whole family signing up for a one-way mission to colonize Mars. The company behind it is called Exploration Incorporated, very similar to SpaceX or Mars One. In the episode, they originally announced that they want to have a colony established on Mars by the year 2026. But when the guys running the project, Paul and Barry, find out that a rival company is about to beat them to it, they announce they aren't waiting for 2026 anymore. They're gonna move the launch up to that coming Thursday. That rushed space race energy is exactly what we're seeing in the real world right now. We've got all these companies competing to be the first to reach specific milestones. The Simpsons predicted that private companies would get so competitive over Mars, they'd start making wild promises and changing their timelines. Now, whether we actually launch humans next year or it turns out to be a lot of corporate posturing like it was for Paul and Barry, that's another question. Plastic World is the third segment in the latest Treehouse of Horror episode that just aired a couple months back. The title, Plastic World, is of course a nod to the 1995 movie Waterworld, but the rest of the episode is mostly a parody of the Mad Max franchise. Instead of the world being flooded or gasoline shortages turning the planet into a violent wasteland, here the whole world has basically become a giant landfill. Lisa's walking around by herself because the rest of the family was wiped out in a plastic avalanche, and the only hope anyone has is digging deep enough to find actual dirt to grow food. She ends up finding the Quickie Mart buried under mounds of plastic, but loaded with perfectly preserved frozen food. And the second there's food on the table, factions start fighting over it. Bart shows up, turns out he is alive, and is now in charge of a roaming band of marauders. Well, you know what I'm gonna say. The world is definitely producing the most plastic it ever has. Projections from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the UN Environment Program are saying companies are on a path to at least double that by the late 2030s. Most of this plastic doesn't get recycled. It just piles up in landfills or breaks down into microplastics that are now showing up in the water, soil, snow, our bodies. So when the episode shows Homer and Marge and a bunch of other characters mutating into plastic versions of themselves, of course it's exaggerated, but it's not totally outlandish. Plastic is in a way becoming part of us. Not to mention, have you seen celebrities' faces these days? Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes. It's the 7th episode of season 36. Features 3 segments, all tributes to Ray Bradbury stories. The third story drops us into a future where Springfield has gone fully dystopian. But not in the robots taking over kind of way, it's a lot more insidious. The government here controls people by banning anything lowbrow, so no dumb TV, no junk entertainment. Homer works on a squad led by a man named Siegfried Blaze. Their whole job is burning old videotapes of cheap TV shows. At home, the only shows allowed are these dry prestige dramas, which of course Homer hates every second of. When Homer raids the old Springfield Elementary and finds Willie secretly watching a beat-up America's Funniest Home videotape, Homer can't help himself. He watches it, laughs, suddenly remembers what actual fun feels like. Willie gives him the tape before getting hauled off, and Homer starts sneaking off the attic to watch it in secret. But Bart snitches on him. Blaze confronts Homer and ends up revealing that in order to keep people distracted, they push high-end quality content so nobody notices how awful the world around them has become. It's a total inverse of what we're seeing in the real world. Every platform seems to be headed in the opposite direction. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. It's all full of this low-effort trends, rage bait, AI, but just like the Simpsons episode, it's all meant to keep people scrolling. And with AI-generated videos getting pushed harder every year, 2026 could easily be a world where entertainment gets so optimized for watch time that genuine creativity just gets buried. But the main point is controlling the population through content, keeping them distracted, depressed, and unfulfilled. That's already happening. The episode Bart to the Future gets brought up a ton when talking about Simpsons eerily predicting the future, mainly because of this line.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
For all four of you who haven't seen this episode, it takes place in the future. Lisa grows up to be the, quote, first straight female president. Now, seeing as Bart to the Future aired in 2000 and takes place 30 years into the future, that would put it in the year 2030, a year after Trump's current term in real life will end. That's pretty eerie. Now, obviously, Lisa Simpson isn't going to be president, but it is possible the United States will be in deep debt by the time 2030 rolls around. There's a very good chance. I mean, you probably don't need me to tell you that things are pretty insane right now. This next one comes from season 16, episode 19, where Homer basically has a full-on meltdown after watching a movie at the theater and becomes convinced that the rapture is coming. From there, he starts spotting signs everywhere. He does a bunch of homemade numerology and confidently tells the entire town the world is ending in 1 week. After Homer says stars will fall from the sky, and that a blimp accident knocks a bunch of celebrities to the ground, technically stars falling, Springfield instantly treats it like confirmation. Because this is a silly cartoon, everyone buys into the Doomsday idea and starts preparing for the worst. The thing is, this doesn't just happen in cartoons. As we've seen time and time again, people do buy into baseless doomsday predictions. You remember this past summer when TikTok had that massive doomsday trend where people were selling their homes and cars, quitting their jobs, posting these embarrassing videos smugly talking about how great it was, the end times were coming. Yeah, this is probably not gonna get any better. It's so easy for misinformation to spread these days. Unfortunately, I see more doomsday panic in the coming years. In the episode The Cartridge Family, all the way back in season 9 from 1997, the episode opens with the family watching an ad for a big soccer game that's being held in Springfield, a match between Mexico and Portugal, the winner of which will determine the best in the world. It's basically the Simpsons equivalent of the World Cup final. Well, the next FIFA World Cup is going to be hosted across North America. One of the main host countries is Mexico. For Mexico to make it all the way to the final, especially playing on home turf, that would be one of the most unbelievable history-making runs in sports. And the fact that the show paired them with Portugal, another country that's never actually made it to the final, makes this one less likely to happen, but not impossible. I'll be keeping a lookout. Now for a really fun topic, corporate media mergers. This prediction comes from the season 6 episode Lisa's Wedding, which is also famous for its flash forward to the year 2010. Of course, 2010 has come and gone, but the underlying concept is still highly relevant in the current day. In one scene, we see a news ticker running across the bottom of the screen and announces that networks have merged into one ridiculous behemoth entity named CNNBCBS, a mashup of CNN, NBC, and CBS. Now, while we haven't seen that exact triple merger happen yet, the show was perfectly predicting the trend of media consolidation, where giant companies just keep buying up smaller competitors until only a few massive organizations control all the news and entertainment. Think about what's happening in the last few years alone. Disney owns, everything, right? Like every franchise is Disney now. There are constant rumors about what Amazon or Apple might buy next. The industry is under huge pressure from streaming, and when companies get desperate to survive, they merge. It would be shocking, but it wouldn't be impossible for the major news players to combine in order to stay profitable, especially because so many people get their news from podcasts now. By 2026, we could absolutely see an announcement for a new giant network with some equally awkward name. And this last prediction is probably the biggest anxiety driver for people right now: automation and robots stealing all the jobs. The best episode to look at for this is probably Them Robot from season 23. Mr. Burns is cutting costs, and Smithers calls all the power plant employees into a meeting. What's the big announcement? Smithers proudly unveils a whole army of advanced AI robots. He then tells the human employees, and this is the direct quote from the episode, "You will train them and they will replace you." That's the whole plan. To make it even better, those robots were voiced by Brent Spiner, who famously played the android Data on Star Trek. It was goofy, classic Simpsons stuff, but look at what's happening now with generative AI and automation. It's not a full robot uprising like the Terminator movies, at least not yet, but people are definitely being replaced in the workforce. By 2026, we're going to see AI and robotics move far past the typical factory line jobs. We're already seeing it take over roles in creative fields, customer service, etc. By 2026, many people who are training an AI system today probably going to realize they just trained their own replacement. Well, with all that said, I've been your host, James. I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.